Wonderful. He just said, give me a topic and we'll go with it. I love it. I learned a lot. Our first evaluator, can't speak, for Tim is Jeff Rubin.
Yeah.
Toastmasters and guests, who can tell me what Tim's speech goal was today? What was he up here to talk to us about?
Show us how to speak from stories.
Show us how to speak from stories. I asked him, as his evaluator beforehand, I said, what are you going to do today? What do you want me to look for? He said, I'm going to throw out just an open forum for whatever topic, and we'll pick one of 5, and I'm going to go and show. The catalyst for this was within the past month, someone got up and struggled without notes, had to go back to notes, and he wanted to show we don't need our notes. How did he do it? Very well. If you notice, there was a speech where we talked about making the introduction relevant. What I love is he had no idea what he was going to talk about. His introduction was 100% relevant because he set himself up as an expert in speechcraft. So he knew whatever direction he was going to go, it was going to work. When we think about a normal speech, opening, body, conclusion, we don't think about a speech within a speech. But what he gave us today was a speech within a speech. He got up and set it up and said, I want to show you all. You can do this. You don't need notes. Marriage, here we go. But then he gave us something of substance. We learned about his family life. He came home from Vietnam, so he was in Vietnam. We learned he had 6 kids. He married someone with 5 kids, 2 divorces. We learned he started his own business. She worked in the business. Some of us knew he had been an Elvis impersonator, others didn't. I never heard the Genesis story, that it all came back to a Halloween party. So he gave us a speech of substance, but then at the end, he gave us a callback, back to, okay, guys, I'm going to step out of character now and let you know it's possible. It's possible to give a speech without notes, and even on the fly. Because guess what? I just did it. One thing, anytime you're in front of a lectern, remember to move with purpose. There's a pose in yoga called mountain pose, and you have strength. When you stand, you don't have as much strength. You start to dissipate that strength when you start to wander around. So, I was married one time, I was married a second time, or maybe the whole speech is like this, but then when you step out of character, step off, okay, Toastmasters is possible. Move with purpose. Thank you for a masterclass today.
So can we back up for 1 second? We do a timers report, please. Mr. Toastmaster Ben Hughes, did everybody qualify?
Yes. Yes, we said that.
Speakers all day.
Okay. Sorry, Dan. Okay.
I know about that.
And all right, on to our second speaker was Charles Lockery. And evaluated will be Bonnie Patterson.
Honey.
Fellow Toastmasters. I was emotionally and mentally prepared for a refractory tone speech, but I was extremely enlightened and informed this morning. Toastmaster helped me wanted me to look forward to relaxation and how he felt up here, and I feel like his comfort level, he was extremely relaxed. Before he took the lectern, he was off to the side, very playful and smiling at all of us out here, and it made us feel a little bit more engaged before he started talking. He was impressive and confident with his vocal variety from the moment his speech started. You grabbed our attention right away. Another thing that he wanted me to look for was to make sure that he told one speech today. And despite the fact that it was such a convoluted topic, you kept yourself on topic by prefacing it each time with, that's another speech. I'm gonna keep that so that I can keep myself on topic. Relevant to the title was, what's the point? He remembered his stats without notes, which really set the scene and built a case for it. So you did a wonderful job of explaining what the point was. You didn't bore us with political jargon. You included humorous anecdotes, the pig halfway through the python. I did my part. I have 3 daughters. There was clarity in your speech and the fact that these were complex topics, but you made it easily digestible. So thank you for that. Areas of opportunity, I would just say eye contact, because when you were speaking, it seemed like you had a focal point, which is awesome, but it would have been really nice if you included those of us here in the front. Audience awareness. You said everyone knows, and you did use a couple terms like GDP and what's going on in Japan, and then here's Bonnie like, I have no idea what's going on. So thank you for assuming. And again, as far as clarity, it was easy to digest and not hard to follow. The flow did come naturally, and this was you without notes, so I could only imagine how much more impressive it would have been if you had a couple of notes to help the flow. Thank you.
Third speaker, Ty Patton, and third evaluator, Lillian Harmon.
Of Toastmasters, ATM, T.R. Patterson. I'm very honored to evaluate him. He gave me a few bullets, let me look at what I should evaluate him. Access the speaker's opening the effective. Do you think his opening is effective?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely. He has that high energy. Step into the room, ask questions, and open up his speech. Very effective. He also uses the quote, correct with criticism. That's impressive to me too. His purpose of the speech is improve the speaking ability, especially for our new members. He engaged with the audience very well. That's the second question they want me to pay attention. He wants me to pay attention. As you observe the audience, how were you able to determine if you were engaged with the speaker? He engaged with everyone. He mentioned everyone's name. He illustrated everyone's example. He said the team's example. He asked Jeff's question. He engaged with almost everyone in the room. Engaged very well. He also used stories. He said, if you don't know how to speak, always use the stories. Everyone have different stories. Too many listeners, time is up. His conclusion is effective. Just connect.
And our fourth speaker, Nate Bowe, evaluator, is Tim Langer. Toastmaster Tim Langer.
Good morning, Toastmasters. Good morning, guests and our newest member. You know what makes a good speaker is to help the evaluator do a great job. So our speaker today, Nate, Toastmaster Nate, brought me basically an outline of his speech, his note page anyways. He brought me the evaluation form, printed it out, and then came over to my table, because I didn't go to his table, which I should have, and said, the number one thing I want to do is I want audience engagement. So I was watching for that. Now, we could talk about clarity and eye contact and body language and jumping a little bit, but his goal was engaging the audience. Now, with the exception of his awesome prop and his sad story. In fact, let me ask you a question. This would be engaging the audience. How many people did marks either when you were growing up or when your kids were growing up? How many people did that? Yeah. It's interesting that less than half the room. And I remember doing that as a child. I remember my grandfather marking. And when we sold the property, I was probably 15, 14 years old. I went through and measured all those marks and saved them all. Interesting enough, I didn't keep that tradition going with my children. I sort of wish I did, but it's pretty cool. So I'm going to give Nate a C minus, maybe a D plus for engaging the audience. Because I don't know that he did that great of a job engaging the audience. Now, his story was spectacular. His body language, eye contact, all those things I've mentioned, A plus. Engaging the audience, I think you could have done a lot more. So to challenge yourself, the next time you give a speech that you'd like to engage the audience, sort of think about that. How can I engage the audience? Walking around the room is one way, talking to people, getting involved with props on the table, the crayons, for example, that was engaging the audience, and asking questions like, you know, how many people? Thank you, Toastmasters.
Timers report. Toastmaster Ben Hughes, did everybody qualify?
All evaluators qualify.
Excellent. So let's have a vote. Please stand, turn around, assume the position. Evaluator number 1, Toastmaster Jeff Rufinot. Okay. Evaluator number 2, Bonnie Patterson. Evaluator number 3, Lillian Campbell. And last but not least, evaluator number 4, Toastmaster Tim Linger. Okay. You can turn around. No, the evaluator that wins the most votes is Mr. Toastmaster Jeff.